What's up, everybody? I am doing a very special interview, someone that I have been following on Instagram now for, I don't know, it hasn't been years because he hasn't been doing it for years, but it's been several months. Also got the opportunity to see this man on stage at Ampicon, Rene Rodriguez's big event in Dallas. He killed it. He was the closing keynote. I hope to see this gentleman, if he's willing to do more keynotes in the mortgage industry on lots of stages, because there's about three things that he's doing that I think are super important for mortgage and real estate professionals. I'll call those out during the interview, but let's welcome Jefferson Fisher to the Mortgage Coach Trust Engine community. What's up, my man?
What's going on? I appreciate you inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. So, just for anyone who doesn't know you, just give them a minute on who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, my name is Jefferson Fisher. I'm a dad of two. I live in Texas. I'm an attorney, a trial attorney. I practice personal injury law, and I have a social media that I give communication advice on.
And how many people follow you on that social media advice platform?
Close to about 7 million.
So how many on Instagram and how many on TikTok?
I have a little over one on TikTok, and I have 3.2, almost 3.3 on Instagram, and I have 1 point something on Facebook.
So did you know that you'd become a social media influencer? Is that like, was that on
No.
the goals list for 2023?
And that was never even in the stratosphere of what I ever thought would happen. Not even close.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're killing it. I think
Thanks,
you
man.
are one of the most valuable people to watch on social media. There's a lot of noise and negativity on social
Mm.
media, and there's also some real valuable content. I mean, you can really get smart, be smart, um, get a lot of peace and positivity on social media if you follow the right people. And in my
Yeah.
book, you're one of those accounts that people should follow
Thank you
and
very
would get
much. I
value
appreciate
if
that.
they watch your video every day.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no, I mean it. So let's do this. So let's start with, why you started doing social media. Let's, kind of go into what you started doing. And then anyone watching this, I am going to ask him questions like what camera he uses. Like we'll do some tactical stuff as we follow this, as we close out this conversation. But what was your initial why to start, playing on social?
Yeah, well, the initial why was I had just started a new law firm. So I've been practicing defense law as an attorney for close to 8, 9 years. And it was time for me to start my own thing for a multitude of very good reasons. And in January of 2021, I went off on my own. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. 2021. And I started my own law firm. It was just me. I went from a corner office with multiple paralegals and assistants to being by myself with my laptop in coffee shops. And I loved it. I really, really did. And I decided that I needed to start doing social media. So I was starting to look into that and see ways that I could help promote my business. I think that's what a lot of early entrepreneurs do with their business. Say, okay, how can I start to position myself? How can I use social media to my advantage? And so that was the original why.
And what did you do and how did it go?
Originally, I was trying to do what everybody else was doing. At the time, Instagram had just introduced Reels. They were wanting to compete with TikTok, which was still a relatively new platform that had really grown during COVID shutdown. And so the Instagram is introducing Reels, and I was watching what everybody else was doing. They were doing these like lip syncing videos where you have an audio that was kind of tailored to maybe your area of business, and you're mouthing the words and overdubbing it, or I'm trying to come up with some way to use the app. I spent probably almost a month just trying to learn how it worked, posting videos that really didn't make sense, but it didn't matter. I was just trying to figure out what did what. And then I paid somebody, a friend of mine, to actually make a TikTok style video, a very fast paced, to emphasize my law firm as what to do in an accident. And I paid him to do this video, and I got less views on that than I did with the video of me just horsing around, in my car. And that's when the light bulbs are like really started to click in my head.
And when did the formula well, first of all, why don't you describe the formula of what has scale? Like tell us describe what you do. And anyone watch this, one, you could just Google his name. Like I said, the guy has 7 million followers on multiple channels. I watch him on Instagram. You can look him up by his name, but we will put links down below. And we will
Oh,
put a
thanks.
link to your law firm just because
Well, I
you are
appreciate it.
still a
Thank you.
practicing lawyer with the law firm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
So
we'll put a link to all that down below. But yeah, so tell us what you're doing and how you pivoted from that to this.
yeah, it was honestly is just trial by fire. I mean, it was the law firm started building very quickly. So I went by myself to, in a little over a year, I was looking at already having about 16 people that I was managing, and it's grown considerably since then. At the time with the social media, after I had made a video trying to sell myself, like sell what I do as an attorney of personal injury, I was watching these other personal injury attorneys. They didn't have a huge following, but I thought that's what I needed to be. And I tried that. And I realized very quickly that was not me. Like it just didn't feel like me. And worst of all, I was frustrated that I even paid for it, to not even be true to myself. And so I had to have this talk to myself. I remembered I was driving in the car and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? What is your purpose? I mean, forget that you're an attorney. Forget that. What good can you put out into the world? What value can I give for free? What do I know better than anybody that I know? What do I enjoy talking about? And let's try that. And I thought, well, a lot of people associate attorneys with conflict and argument, which is very true. And I also love communication. So why don't I just make a video about a communication tip on how to argue? Let's just go with that. And I did it, and it just took off. The very first video, I was thrilled, Dave. I was thrilled when I got like 1,000 views on a video.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember being very.
By the way, I'm
excited.
still thrilled when I get 1,000 views on a video.
Yeah, trust me, I am too. And I just got so thrilled. I was like, I can't believe I had like 2,500 views on this one video. And I remember asking a friend, and it went off. I was cross-posting Instagram and TikTok. And on TikTok, you can grow much faster very quickly. And so I posted it, and it got over like 100,000 views, which I just thought was the most insane number of my life. And I was like, I'm done. I don't have to post anymore. This is more than I ever thought would happen. I'm good. Let's just go on about it. And a friend was like, well, you're going to post another one, right? Like, another one? They want to see another one? She's like, yeah, you need to do another one. And so I did. And then at the time, I would do it like every 3 or 4 weeks, just make a video that kind of came off the top of my head. And it's just wild, Dave. I mean, now when I post on Instagram, there's not a video that I have within a day, it has already 1 million views. And it's just a bizarre world. But I vividly remember being absolutely thrilled with just 1,000 views. And I have never lost that feeling.
Yeah, no. Hey, well, congratulations. The impact's amazing.
Thanks.
I'd love to put you on the spot a little bit. I don't know. I think you can
Sure.
handle this because first of all, a lot of people are watching this. They know your content. They're like,
Yeah.
they have context right now. But then there's a lot of people watching this interview and they don't have any context. And I want to give them some context. So I would love for you to, almost kind of role play, feel free to pick something you've done, but like do like one of your shows right now. And so that everybody gets context. And then I've got more questions for you, but are you cool with giving us context right now? And,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
What do you
role
want
play? I don't know. Right now, loan officers, the biggest problems they have are people are on the fence and they don't know what to do. So they're working with people where there's a lot of uncertainty,
Yeah.
and they're also hearing a lot of no's, so anything come to mind that you've done that might help with certainty, might deal with conflict, might deal with people saying no to you, but you want to keep the conversation going and get them to say yes? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
just
no.
rambling. If
Oh yeah,
anything,
yeah. So what comes to the top of my head, if you want to hit on the elements of, let's say, persuasion, let's say maybe getting somebody comfortable, maybe somebody who's presenting more of a, you can tell that they're not into it. They're looking at a no. A few things that come to mind are, number one, it's that idea of getting yourself out of the way. You can often do that with questions like, what part of this isn't working for you? I can tell it's not working for you, or I feel that it's not working for you. What's, and often they're going to feel much more open to you when you're saying what you think that they're thinking. There's a lot of elements when you just persuasion of wanting to uh, come to their side of the court by asking genuine questions with open curiosity, rather than trying to say, I know what's best for you.
right.
That's at least what's coming off the top of my head right now. But I can see how
I know
there's
it.
certain elements of,
Well, but here's what I would love to do. Like
yeah.
here's a good one. You
Mhm.
just recently did one, how to handle a hothead.
Yeah.
Kind of redo that so people have a gist of what your Instagram content looks like.
Oh yeah. So what I do, for those who don't know in my content, and we can even do one that I did just, any of the ones you really want to talk about.
Well, I would say the two right now that I'm looking at on your channel are how to handle a hothead, because anybody in housing, there's two kinds of real estate deals with problems and deals with solved problems. So that
Yeah.
would be good. And how to stop a heated argument. Like all human beings would love to know how to do that. So just, you know,
Yeah.
go ahead and redo that one right now.
Sure. Sure. It's funny. I'll have people who be like, oh, remember that video that you did on X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, I've done a lot, so you need to, like, tell me. Yeah. So when it comes to dealing with a hothead, and for people who don't see my content, I break it up typically into 3 points. I just make it up into 1, 2, 3. I find that to be very basic. I do that in jury trials the same way. Number one, dealing with a hothead, don't interrupt them. All right. I compared a hothead to a balloon. Like, they have that stored up anger that's inside of them. That's the air. And when you interrupt, you prevent it from venting. So even when you interrupt, you still have that anger that's in there. So you got to let them get it all out. Let them feel all the feels. Number two is, you can often ask them to repeat it. Now, I don't mean repeat everything that they said, but repeat some element of what they said. Get them to clarify something. Like, can you just run over that last part for me? There's this one part I didn't understand. I want to make sure I get it. And when you do that, it makes them slow down a little bit. Number three would be, you ask them a question of fact, meaning you ask, what day was this? Or what time was that? When did you send this email? You're making them use their analytical side, which pushes the emotional side off. So when they move to the analytical side, they can focus on the details and kind of have a little bit more clarity, which cools them down. And so those were kind of the big main points I dealt with in how to handle a hothead.
And then he always says, and follow me,
And follow me.
and
That's
follow
right.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that came about was, I read some, I was Googling at the time, how do you make a video? I was like, I didn't know. And they said, you need to have a call to action. So I just started looking around at other people, what they were doing, and kind of made my own thing. And sure enough, some people followed me.
So guys, so what he just did is an example of one of his most recent videos. I'm looking at Instagram right now. He's done 292 posts, which is not a lot. I mean, he's just
No.
getting started. 3.2 million followers. And, to his point, this one, yesterday, 52,000 likes, and I don't even know how many views, 64,000, 98,000. I mean, the amount of value and the amount of distribution, it's an incredible story, you know. So I wanted to do this interview because my hope is that, you know, every loan officer and realtor watching this, it's a very inspirational story of how someone can go from, you know what, I want to do social media to promote my business. And I know everybody doesn't want to become a social media influencer. And by the way, you may not have the skill or the ability. Like, let's face it, Jefferson. I mean, you're pretty skilled, dude. Like you've got
Oh,
an
thank you.
extraordinary knowledge of communication. You know, it seems like you've trained your whole life for what you're doing right now. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's just people ask you, what course did you take? What books did you read? I, this is it. This is just who I've who I've been for a
Yeah.
long time.
And so you've found something that you love, that you are world class at and genius at, that the world can use, and then you've come up with a formula, you know,
Yeah.
and that formula, these are all under a minute, right?
Yes, I try to keep them about 48 seconds, 50 seconds.
Yeah, and he's doing it. They're all in his car. Uh,
And
you're actually holding the camera,
I
right?
am holding my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
guys,
sit in my
there's no
front seat.
tripod. He's holding his
No,
camera.
nothing.
It's a
Yeah.
it's an iPhone,
iPhone, yeah. With the
latest and
crack
greatest.
screen. Yeah.
You got a crack screen. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
go fix that crack screen.
Well, I know, but the thing was Best Buy, well, I did the whole Apple Care thing, and Best Buy was like, well, we need your phone for like 48 hours. I was like, that's not possible. So I'm gonna have to just I'm
Dude, we
just
need to
gonna
get that.
I'll
We
just get
need,
the next one. I'll just wait to get the
yeah,
next one.
yeah.
That'll be
Well, go
fine.
get the next one this weekend.
Yeah, there you
It's hard
go.
for me hearing about that.
Yeah, sorry.
Cool. So you're doing this. You're not doing any editing software because I
Mm,
saw you present at Renee's amazing
yeah,
event. By the way, shout out to Renee Rodriguez. Make sure you
absolutely.
are following him on
Yeah.
all social media platforms and going to his events. Um, and then you have 3 points. So every time it's like you know, you kind of do a problem statement, like a need, and
Yeah.
then and here's 1, 2, 3 ways of doing it, and then follow me, right? Is that the
You got
formula?
it. That's it. And I come up with something off. I'm kind of riffing. Excuse me. I just kind of come up with it shortly before I do it. So there's nothing written down. There's not a script. I just know I have this idea in my head that I want to convey to just one person. Now, how can I distill? Yeah, and this is more of a legal skill in a way of how do I take a book into a chapter? How do I turn a chapter into a page and a page into, one sentence? So it's just distilling of complex information into something that's small, bite-sized, memorable, and most of all, practical. As soon as they watch the video, they can do it right away.
So
And so, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I didn't mean
Oh,
to.
so I create this title. Like yesterday was what to say when they've crossed your boundary, and then I swipe, and then number one, I have this. Number two, I have this. Number three, I have this. I know that I need to keep them relatively between 15 to 20 seconds to make sure that I hit the time. And then from there, I end it with a call to action, and that's it. And it's just a very short, simple, applicable formula.
So do you, like, you know, have a notepad, and so you do this all in your head. So you're not
All in my head.
writing this out, and most of these videos, I remember this because I asked you in
Mhm.
person. You said
Yeah.
it takes about an hour. Like, if the
Yeah.
thinking time and the
From
recording
from very
time.
beginning to end. Yeah. So I'm at the office right now. And if let's say it's close to 4 o'clock ish. So I'll go, okay, let me finish, close my laptop, grab my stuff. As I'm walking to the car, I'll think in my head, okay, what do I want to tell somebody today? And something will generally come up. And and here's the thing, if I'm not in a good state of mind, if it's been a hard day, or I'm in a rush to go pick up the kids, I don't do a video. Like I make social media fit my life, not the other way around. And so when I do a video, I'm just more relaxed. I'm more myself because I'm not having to put on this persona. And that, from what I've been told, comes through in the area of authenticity, that it's okay to mess up on a word. It's okay to come up with something that doesn't sound like it's canned in some way. So yeah, I just roll off with my head. So I'll make one point and then I might say it and go, you know what, I want to make that shorter, or I don't really need to say that, or say this a different way, or it would be cool if I said it like this. So from beginning to end, it's about an hour, and I edit it all within Instagram. I don't use, you don't have to have fancy captions, all that. That stuff to me is a red herring. It's bogus. Like, to have this style where everything is some kind of pop up caption, and you have to have some kind of editing where it's a random video, off to the side, or a picture to keep your engagement. Like, if what I'm saying isn't doing it, then I don't deserve the view. I mean, then I'm not for them. That's okay. So I keep it very simple as I can.
Yeah. So, and are you doing, like, you recorded it, you're not having to edit it, like it's a 1 minute video, or are you saying, hey, I'm doing multiple videos and then editing them together within Instagram and then pushing it?
Oh no, it's one video per day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and here's my other message for everyone. Like, there's a lot of ways to win,
Mm.
and there's a lot of ways to win in mortgage, but we're showcasing a formula. He's winning. Now
Yeah.
here's some other questions. I had a conversation with Katie Sweeney. She was at the event. I think you had a conversation with her, but we were both curious, like, going forward. I know you've got a book coming out. He's going to change. He doesn't know what the title's going to be, but one of the things when we were prepping, he talked about predicting positive. And so that's what I titled this as we pushed it into our Facebook group. But I'm going to ask you about that. But before we do that, what's the next year to 2 years look like for you? Are you going to keep practicing attorney? Are you going to become a professional speaker and author? You're going to do
Yeah.
both? You're going to do something totally different? Like, what's the plan?
Hey, man, you tell me, man. This year, 2023 has been the wildest year. Like, Dave, you have to understand, it wasn't until February of this year that I even had 1 million followers. Beginning of the year, I think I had maybe 100,000, 200,000. And so this year has just been a lot over that time. So to say what's going to happen next year, I truly don't know. I know for sure that the book will be coming out probably early 2025. Penguin Random House wants to wait until after election season, which I understand. And I'll probably do more speaking, explore that. I really do enjoy speaking. That's been a lot of fun, mostly because I get to meet people like you. And that's very rewarding to make those relationships for me. I'm still going to have my law firm, still going to be practicing. I will probably need to step away from the actual, like, in the zone, head
Being the
down.
lead trial attorney, you're
Yes,
probably,
correct. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm going to be stepping in much more to a management role where I'm really just, I am, I'm the window front. I help get cases in. I make people feel good. I make that personal connection, and then I need to hand them off to somebody and delegate to somebody else who can handle their case within the firm. And so far, that's been very good for us here. We've already started that process, but I imagine it's only going to continue to grow.
No, very rewarding. Yeah. Well, congrats again on your
Thank
success.
you.
That's incredible growth. Talk into, the predicting positivity and your thesis around predicting positivity.
So it is outlined in a formula, and it is my formula of how I communicate, like my overarching view in the world of communication, which, if the reader will apply this formula, will allow them to come up with their own videos, their own method, their own way of doing what I do. And you start with alignment plus connection. Then the multiplier is fluidity equals effective communication and connection with people. So it's alignment has to do with aligning yourself before the conversation. So that's talking about working on your breath, the way you talk to yourself leading up to it, the way you scan yourself mentally before you go into a conversation, to where if you do it right, it's kind of like having an endless supply of oxygen underwater, where doesn't matter what kind of conversation I'm in, it allows this element of alignment allows you to keep your sympathetic nervous system down, where your fight or flight mode doesn't take over, your emotions don't override you. Then it goes into connection. In other words, eliminating bias, seeking empathy, seeking understanding, and getting yourself out of the way to allow the other person to flourish. And it's a concept of putting yourself second in the conversation. So oftentimes when we get into a hard conversation, we want to tell them what they should do. We want to control it. It's not, you still can control it, but in a different way. So when you put yourself in the service of communicating with others, and put yourself second, then you make their challenges the top priority. So what is their challenge going into the conversation? And when you do that, you leave room for a lot more avenues and opportunity to reach connection with them. The last element is dealing with fluidity, meaning oftentimes in conversation, you have to adapt to different things, adapt to somebody's different style, or maybe you have time constraints, or maybe this is not a good environment. So there's a lot of different things that I dive into, like how to handle interruptions, how to handle very difficult personalities. And I break it down in a way that I think readers will also enjoy the quick practicality of it. That's the hope.
Wow. I mean, that, first of all, I mean, this has been a super inspirational conversation. There's been some, just good tactical feedback. And then this is like, we could do the whole interview on this. And I do believe for anyone listening to this as a mortgage or real estate professional, like technology is not going to eliminate mortgage professionals, but professionals that master and leverage technology to create more value for consumers will absolutely crush those who don't. And so I think, in this, going forward in mortgage and real estate, everything you just said matters more than ever. Like being the best, most present, that alignment going
Yeah.
into, conversations. Think about anyone listening to this right now, you're in mortgage, it's winter. I mean, and when I say winter, I'm not just speaking to the fact that it's, December when you're probably watching this. This is like the last or second last day of November, but it's winter. Rates are the highest, they've been in 40 years. Rates went down to the bottom at 2 and 3%. So 63% of all Americans who have mortgages have an interest rate that's less than half of what rates are today. Like it's winter. There's an inventory crisis. And so I love the fact that you talked about alignment. Like, what's your self-talk? Are you breathing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting a good sleep score? I crushed it last night, by the way, everyone. Are you coming in with alignment? Are you coming in with connection, empathy, putting yourself really in the shoes of the consumers that you serve? There's so much we could talk about that. Like so many mortgage professionals are just like, buy now. Oh, why are you renting and wasting all that money? Showing up with, I don't know, just trying to push people. You've got to empathize with people. Don't rent shame first-time home buyers, but show up with empathy and help them see a brighter future. So I love that. Anything else you want to add to that framework, knowing that the audience is primarily mortgage professionals? Their best referral partners are realtors. So I always want to help them, give them an edge in the next realtor meeting. Hey, give them an edge in your next
Yeah.
home buyer meeting. Anything you want to add,
Yeah.
given that context?
Well, it's certainly not, I guess, let's say the sexiest mindset, but I'd say that people, especially consumers, but just people, we gravitate to the people who are kind. We gravitate to the people who treat us with kindness, who give to us in ways in the conversation, because there's that element of, like, when you give to a charity, right? When you give, help somebody, you pay for somebody's meal, something, you get kind of a high off of it. You got more than you gave kind of feeling. That helper's high is biological. Your endorphins have increased to give you that happy feeling. You can also give that to other people. So when you're able to share that with them through speaking kindness to them, encouraging them, elements that do not matter with respect to business, that only brings positivity. When I am able to, let's say in my world, if I'm dealing with an opposing counsel and I know he's not a very nice person, or he's a very difficult to deal with, I can diffuse and disarm just about anything with a few words of kindness. Just that decision to choose in that moment, whatever comes out of his mouth, I know I can control what comes out of mine. It's always going to give you an edge because it's going to show that you are in control of yourself. And that confidence is only going to continue to exude out of you.
I love that. I love that. That's good advice. So Trust Engine and Mortgage Coach, we're all about turning loan officers into advisors that help consumers not only achieve home ownership, but achieve financial freedom. Because that to me, that's the real American dream. And financial freedom may include paying off your mortgage and being debt free, or it may just, hey, I've got so much money in the bank and assets that paying off my home is a strategic financial plan decision. So that's this channel that you're watching. I also have a nonprofit called First Home IQ, where we're really helping loan officers and realtors get out into schools and, educate the next generation on homeownership. Any advice on that, just how to show up with more empathy to the next generation? Is there any nuance that you have to add?
In my mind,
well, I was going to say, even if you were going to go speak to high school, because like right now you're going and speaking to, you were at a mortgage event, it's probably businesses that want to have you come and do a keynote. But if you were going to have to go do that at a high school or a college, is there any different mindset that you'd have, or is there any different way that you would align and connect? There you go.
Advice that I would give, let's say if it was at a high school, would be to nurture your friendships. There's often the case that we're always seeking out the new. We want more friends. We want more of this. We want more of that. But there's so much richness in what you already have. You're just not looking back at it. So it's the same way with in the legal world, which I assume is in the lending world. Majority of your new business can come from the customer base you already have. And so if you're always trying to go out to find the next thing, get the most of everything, you can do that in a way, by doing it in a way that nurtures the connections, relationships, friendships you have in place, because those are the people that you want to rely on at the end of the day. Those are the people that you can have their trust, and they have your back, and they have your best interest. And when you're always trying to just chase the horizon without having a sense of gratitude for what you already have, I think you're always going to feel unsatisfied in a way.
Love that. So let's go into a little bit of a wrap up here. I would love to see you on more stages in the mortgage industry. I do have a little bit of a selfish interest in the fact that I am trying to turn the mortgage industry into this, first responders, and help everyone make better decisions. Like, I think if America managed their money better, if we managed debt more effectively, we'd be a better country. We'd be happier people.
No doubt.
We'd be kinder in our day-to-day lives. Like, there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity. So I would love to see you on stages. If someone wanted to hire you to come in, and by the way, anyone putting on an event this year, I think this guy, one, telling his story is inspirational, and then two, really talking about that alignment, connection, fluidity formula. I think that would be a good person to have on stage this year. One, how would they reach out to you, and what are you cool with talking about that, or what kind of things do you want to talk about on stages this coming year, 24?
Yeah, I typically get hired for either events or companies, and this is my first year doing it, but it's been huge. Some really awesome stages, and I primarily on two different veins. One is kind of my story of how I got into this space because they want to know more about social media, how I bring authenticity about it, how to use that authenticity to leverage your business. And that's a big subject. Another issue that I get brought in is more of the technical side, and that is purely communication. How do you deal with difficult conversations? How do you deal with a shift in your business or your practice? What happens when your industry is upside down? How do you maintain the ship? How do you handle conflict in a way that not only exudes confidence, but is also a give and take with whoever you're up against? So it's this idea of arguments are a window into another person's struggle. They're not to be won. So if you take this mentality that you're supposed to win, 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 I'm supposed to win an argument, that's not true. You can win an argument, sure, but you lose a lot with that. You only gain contempt in a way. It's very short-lived. So I push out a different message, and that is you can communicate with kindness and still be very firm. So that's been a lot of fun and a very, very just rewarding. I love it.
So where do they go? They email you? Do they go to your website?
So they go to my website, jeffersonfisher.com. Lots of email. I mean, Jefferson at jeffersonfisher.com, or contact at jeffersonfisher.com. They can message me. My DMs get monitored pretty regularly on really any channel. So
your DMs do work. Like people DM you and they want you to speak. They're gonna
oh yeah.
get followed up on. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
So let's hope I see you in the real world next year and we share a stage together somewhere. I'll
That'd
be
be
hoping
awesome.
for that. And if you watched this, please, share it with a friend. I do think this interview would be valuable to realtors. It'd be valuable to mortgage professionals. Like, heck, I'm going to share this one with my family, while I recorded it for the Mortgage Coach, Trust Engine community, loan officers. I think you delivered a lot of value that would, anybody in the modern world that is, either using social media for good or bad, I think would get value. And then of course, if you just want to be a better human being, I think you'd get a lot of value.
Thanks.
Any closing thoughts or words of advice before we wrap?
No, I very much am appreciative of the time just to spend with you. It's been great. I really enjoy getting to meet you at AmCon. Shout out to Renee again. It was a wonderful one. Yeah, thank you, Renee. It was a wonderful time. And yeah, it was just a great experience.
Yeah. Hey, before we wrap, this is just more a personal curiosity question.
Yeah.
Do you read or listen to podcasts? Do you consume much content?
The answer is actually no. I just the time in my day and
so you're not consuming
life,
a lot of content right now.
No, I mean I'm aware of podcasts, but I do not have the time unless I'm maybe going for a run or something where I can like put on 45 minutes of a podcast. But it's right now it's all book writing. Like that is
Yeah,
what my
it's
life is about.
creation season. Yeah, no,
Yes. Yeah.
I for a long time used to consume, read not news but books, podcasts,
Yeah.
things of positivity for a couple hours. But I replaced that with creation. I started
That's a
like,
good
hey,
way of
I'm
putting
going
it.
to interview someone and creation time. And I was just curious if you were reading or listening right now. I wanted to know what. But I love the way you answered that. I mean, you have read a lot. You have become what you have become, and now it's create and put that out into the world time.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. Yeah, I'm definitely in creation season
All right.
right
All right,
now.
man.
Been
Well,
good.
hey, I hope I get a chance to interview you again. Hope I see you in the real world. It's been an awesome conversation. Everyone, make sure you go to the links down below. Follow this man. When his book comes out, buy it. If you're not already following our channel, make sure you subscribe. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.